Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. It's episode 95 of the Hibs Ramble. It's Liam this week. I am joined. It's a pretty busy week this week, lads. We've got Ryan, Marc and Shaun with us this evening. How are we, guys?
I'm good,
all
mate.
Good, mate. All good. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Even after the backyard defeat, at least today's been a little bit more positive. We're recording this on Tuesday, this of August. It's currently 20-7. So all the news that you've heard on Tuesday about all the signings and incomings, we've just seen that today. But more importantly, Marc and Ryan, I've not seen you in a wee while. How are you?
Good, mate. I'm good. Sorry about my latest hiatus.
That's okay, man. Don't worry about it. Ryan,
Like
what's your
it's one episode and then a hiatus of 6 weeks and then another episode and then 8 weeks and then he's back again.
I'm not going to apologise for any hiatus, man. I've got a lot of community service to get through, so.
Oh, look at me! I'm Ryan. I'm hard as fuck.
Tax evasion's no hard, man.
Oh, hard, man.
That's the best video on the internet ever.
Fucking so good, eh? When I go on holiday
God.
in London, and everyone thinks I'm from Dundee, and they go, "Oh, hard, man." That's what Shaun says when he tells folk that he's for Trinent. That's what he expects people to say.
I have heard that before. Oh, you
Yeah.
ken that Shaun Corrigan? Aye, fucking right hard cunt him, like.
Absolute mental guy for Trinent. PYT,
You
you
know
know.
what losers you've been speaking to.
All the people that you've been telling that you're hard. I am hard.
Hopefully.
I am hard. Right, okay, let's get into the soccer ball, guys. A couple of bits of news before we jump into the very cheery subject, which is a 3-0 defeat away at St Mirren. Since we last spoke, we've had 3 incomings so far. By the time this comes out, we might have another 1, another 2, maybe another 3. Who knows? The first one, Mikael Kukharevich, 23-year-old striker coming in on loan from Swansea. Obviously, he was at the club a couple of years ago. I think he got 5 goals and something like 15 appearances in the league, if I remember rightly. And then he had a couple more that were chopped off from VAR, which was a bit of a disgrace. But we move. Good to see another striker coming in, especially at the point that he did come in last week. We really were kind of crying out for a signing. Marc, what do you make of Big Mick coming back?
It's decent. I think we needed some competition for Vente because, apart from anything, he's obviously no performed at the levels that we would have expected after his first couple of months. And I just think you need that level of competition to keep people going, especially strikers. I think it'll help him, Vente, as well. Maybe allowing him some time on the bench, allowing him some substitute appearances and stuff. And if he's not the main man, he can maybe quietly pick up his performances again without anyone really criticising him too much, if you've got Big Mick helping as well. I think they'll complement each other as well, because Vente, I think, is a poacher, and at the moment he's expected to run the channels and off the shoulder and in behind and all that, which I just don't think he's that type of player. So I think he needs some support, and Big Mick will hopefully provide that.
Yeah, I think when I saw Big Mick coming in, my mind instantly went to putting 2 up front. Obviously never happened on Sunday, but I wonder, Ryan, if you think that's something that Dave Gray's going to look at going forward, is maybe the flexibility within the squad, now that we've got 2 out-and-out strikers that probably would complement each other pretty well.
Absolutely. Dave Gray alluded to that in his opening interview as Hibs manager. He said that he would be adaptable to situations and adaptable to different games and opponents and things like that. So I think tactically he will probably switch from time to time from being 1 up front to 2 up front. And I think that Marc says they probably would complement each other quite well. I think it's a good move for Hibs, having had him here before. He was quite unfortunate the first time round, injury and about 15 goals that were chalked off for various different reasons. But no, I think it's a good signing, albeit just for the year on loan. But you never know what that might lead to. I think when he was here last time, he was a bit raw, but I think maybe he's probably a better overall footballer than Vente, which will benefit Vente if they're playing together. So it could be something exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much game time he got at Swansea last year, if any at all. But I think they paid something about 3.5 million or something for him. So I thought when the rumor was first kind of doing the rounds that permanent was probably out of the question. Swansea will be wanting to recoup some of that money that they spent on him if they're willing to let him go permanently. So, but Shaun, you were a fan of him the last time round. Are you a fan of this signing, or are you one of these people who think, oh, we shouldn't go back for players that have been with us previously?
I mean, firstly, I had absolutely no idea that it was anywhere near that amount of money that Swansea paid for him. And
Well,
if it was,
I
they
might
have
be pulling that
absolutely
right out
been
my
ruined.
arse.
So I would like a fact check on that, because Swansea have been absolutely rinsed if that's the case. But regardless, yeah, I really, really enjoyed them when he was here. Like both of you have already alluded to, he was very unfortunate at times, both with injury and the amount of goals that were chopped off. But for me, he's a prime example of the Hibs support writing off a player before they even get started. And what I'm alluding to here is when he first initially signed on deadline day, on whenever it was he first came. Everyone was like, "Who's this? Who's this guy? Nobody, barely played." And then, look at him now and look at the reaction that he was getting on social media when he did sign. So it just goes to show that, one, what do we know, and two, maybe we do need to trust some of the decision makers at the club. Sometimes they do, at times, get it right. He's very, very suited for the Scottish game, and that's what I think we need at this moment in time. I alluded to it last week on the episode that Dave Gray was at the club at the time when he was there, so he knows exactly what he's going to get with him, albeit we might not have seen it as much on the park. So whether it's up top on his own, whether it is playing as a 2 or in behind Vente, or coming short, I think once he does get up to full speed, as long as he can stay fit, I think he'll be absolutely flying. And I know we're going to come on to the other signings and stuff, but the other signings that we're both making and trying to make and get over the line, I think they are only going to enhance the performances of both Dylan Vente and Kukharevich.
Absolutely, and I've just looked it up here. According to Transfer Market, Swansea signed him last summer for €2 million. So
Wow.
whatever that is in pounds,
Wow.
what's that? Maybe like 1.8, 1.9, something like that, million. So not quite the 3.5 that that I quoted earlier. So again, that is another red flag to never listen to anything that I say, because usually it's not true. Mark, this morning we confirmed the signing of Junior Hoilett. A 1-year deal. Previously was at Aberdeen, was a free agent before he signed on the dotted line with Hibs. 34 years old. Maybe would have been an exciting signing 10 years ago, but what are you thinking about it today?
Yeah, it's sort of shades Adam Lafondra, isn't it? I know they're different positions, but one of them where you think if it had been 10 years ago, it would have been well, he wouldn't have been at Hibs, put it that way, wasn't it, at Hibs? But I think, yeah, he might have a year. I think it's a 1-year contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just one of them. Aidan McGeady springs to mind as well. It's like one injury, an injury that might take somebody younger 3 months to recover from, takes 6 months, 9 months.
I think he's
And
actually
one
injured at the
injury.
moment as well.
Yeah, and one injury, one pretty bad injury, and it could be curtains for his career. So I know that's kind of cynical thinking, and I think he did all right at Aberdeen. I didn't see much of him, but the fans seem to be pretty happy with him. So you just hope that it's one of the ones that's you get a good year out of him. He helps the younger guys. You've got Rudy and that coming through. He helps those guys really kick on. So yeah, just hope he stays fit.
2 goals and 8 assists in 15 games, Mark. So hopefully we can get something along that kind of return.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
I mean, I think from what I've read on Twitter and Facebook and like the social medias and stuff, that Aberdeen fans were actually pretty gutted to lose him. So the fact that he's ended up coming here and not, signing for some DOS club like FC United of Manchester, like Adam Lafondra did, I think it kind of maybe speaks volumes about the level that he's still able to play at. Yeah, he's 34, but if you can get a half decent year out of him, we've seen it in the past. One of you said in the chat, for every Aidan McGeady, there's a Grant Holt. One of these players that will come in, maybe they're a little bit more vintage than the rest, but they've got that experience, and they'll be able to, help the younger players leaps and bounds. But I think he'll probably still be able to make an impact here and there.
I think that's probably what we're looking for most of all is the impacts here and there. I don't think he'll be starting a massive amount of games, but if he can make positive impacts and contributions throughout the season, even if he comes back with similar numbers to what Shaun's quoted during his Aberdeen time there, that's an unbelievable ratio for assists per game.
I think did he not come in January? Is that right?
Yeah, I think he did. I think they signed him halfway through the season. But if he can just add to what we've maybe already got going on with goals and assists and decent numbers, then it will be a positive sign. And hopefully he's a positive figure about the changing room, as Mark says. And when the year's up, we'll assess it from there. Just hope it's not like an Aidan McGeady situation. We kind of got excited for that one, and it was a injury after injury, unfortunately.
Flat on its face. It's a shame because I feel like when Aidan McGeady did play, he still had a bit about him, and he was able to make a difference in some games, which it was just a bit of a shame that we weren't able to see it for a longer period of time. It comes with a half decent pedigree. If you've never heard of Junior Hoilett before, then you're either a child or you don't take any interest in Premier League years that's on Sky Sports, because he was prime Barclays, as Craig mentioned in the chat earlier on. QPR, Cardiff, Reading, Vancouver Whitecaps, just to name a couple of the clubs that he's played for. But I think, Shaun, that it's a positive signing. Like Ryan said, I don't think he's going to be starting an awful lot, but if we can get an impact from him when he does play, then that's all you can ask for, especially someone who's 34.
Yeah, I think the greatest impact that he's going to have this season will be the impact on those around him. I obviously hope it's not like an Aidan McGeady. Obviously, Mark alluded to Alfie as well, and obviously that didn't quite work out. But there was good spells. We didn't expect much from Alfie when he first came in, and then a couple of games into the season, we were saying that he should be starting and maybe getting more game time just because of the impact and his game intelligence. So, yeah, hopefully it is a positive impact. I'm more excited, actually, about the potential of a certain Dundee winger wearing the green and white more than anything else, actually. But obviously that isn't done over the line, and there's another winger that is done over the line at the minute. But yeah, I'm not getting ahead of myself with Junior Hoilett. I'm not overly arsed about the signing, if I'm completely honest. I just think it's a good squad player to have with ability, and I think there's absolutely no doubt he improves what we currently have. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather have him coming off the bench than Jair Tavares, for example.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And like I said, he's got pedigree, and he's been there, done that in the biggest league in the world, and I think he's played in Germany as well. So it's not like he's a bum who's just come up the road for a swan song. I mean, maybe he just has come up the road for a last swan song, but if he's any half decent, then I don't care.
He's still active for Canada as well, is he not?
Yeah, I think he only missed out on the Copa
America
for injury.
squad. Yeah, that's right, Liam.
Yeah, so there you go.
Thanks, Shaun. It's not often I hear that from you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man.
done something correct. Well done. I'm proud of you.
Well, finally, this is another correct thing. We got a bit of a surprise signing today. Something that I don't think any of us saw coming, at least. I had heard absolutely nothing about it until Hibs put the message in that WhatsApp group chat, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But we've signed Nicky Cadden.
Maybe people just thought Chris Cadden hadn't shaved, and they just couldn't the difference.
Chris Cadden's twin brother, who's a left winger, left-footed apparently, according to Transfer Market. I saw earlier on. Not too sure how true that is, since Chris Cadden's right-footed, but I don't know. Remains to be seen. Mark, did it kind of take you by surprise as much as it took me?
Yeah, but I could be wrong, right? But I seem to remember us being linked with Nicky Cadden maybe last year or something like that.
I think we were. I think it was before he went to Barnsley. So I think he was
Yeah.
he was on a free after he left Forest Green, and then he went to Barnsley. And I think we were after him then, which would have been a couple
Yeah.
of years ago.
I do remember us being like, 'cause at that time I never knew Chris Cadden had a brother, and that's when I remembered, or that's when I found out. I don't honestly know much about him. I've not seen much of his games. I've I don't quite read his stats, which aren't the most inspiring, but you can't, like, I'm never one to just judge somebody off stats because it's, you know, about impact on the game and there's hundreds of other things, but it's just one of them. We'll need to just see how he gets on, and I just hope we've signed him to fit into the team rather than just signed him
Because he's Chris Cadden's brother.
well, aye, and because it's like, oh, he's a free agent, let's just get him in and see what happens. Because when you do stuff like that, that's when you end up just with loads of driftwood, like we've had under Lee Johnson and previous regimes. So I just hope that he has been signed and it's all been part of the plan, and he's been on the sort of wish list, and it's not just been an off the cuff, let's get him in the door.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I've seen an awful lot of Nicky Cadden over the years, but this is going to sound like bullshit, but like every time that like he's come up on like the timeline and stuff, whether it's like Chris Cadden retweeting it or that, I've always like watched the videos just to be like, oh, that's Chris Cadden's brother, we might sign him one day, how funny would that be? And the bits that I've seen of him have always been pretty positive. He looks like a good attacking player who, you know, got quite a half decent delivery on him, which is something that we desperately need after Sunday, because our deliveries into the box were absolutely fucking woeful. But Ryan, Nicky Cadden, happy with it?
Happy in the sense that I think it's a sensible signing, because he's actually quite a versatile player for that left-hand side. So you could play left back and flat back four, you can play left wing back, you can play left midfield if you want to play 4-4-2, but we're not going back there. And you can play left wing as well. So I think it covers a fair bit of depth in the squad with just one body, which then frees up a wage to sign elsewhere if we need to.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I do remember of him is that he's maybe not as explosive over the first 10 yards as Cadden. Cadden's quite a powerful runner when he gets into the stride.
Cadden, Chris.
I know, it's fine. It's
Do
going
you
to take
think
a bit getting used to
he's
this.
going to have C Cadden on his back?
He will,
and then
he will now.
Nicky Cadden will have N Cadden.
He will now. And unless they just go full Brazilian and have their first names only.
Christopher and Nicholas.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I think he is a sensible addition. Again, you don't really play as many games as you do for Barnsley in one season unless you're fairly consistent. I would imagine you'd probably be in and out of the team if you weren't a consistent performer. So yeah, hopefully he can bring a bit of consistency to Hibs when he plays, when he gets the opportunity.
You're saying there, Brian, that he's a versatile player. Do you think it kind of negates now the need for us to sign that backup left back? Do you think that's
I think that's him.
expected of him to fill in when needed?
I would imagine so. I could be wrong, but I would imagine so. It makes sense that he can cover many positions as well as left back, and we're bringing in more wingers than we are left backs. So it would say to me that that's where he's kind of been signed for.
Yeah. Another one, Shaun. Do you think this kind of spells a little bit of trouble for Harry McCurdy, and maybe we might see Ellie Yuan leave the club as well?
Good for the first one out of the two names that you said there. But yeah, I think it is, and I think for me, just to reiterate everything that Ryan's already said, it is an okay signing from a squad perspective. It's again similar to Junior Hoilett, a good option to have, an improvement on what we already have. Chris has clearly been pestering him for some time based on some of the stuff that Nicky said in his interview. The only thing that concerns me, which I guess comes back to Ryan's point, similar to what Mark said, is his output was never really the greatest for a club like Barnsley. If you're playing that consistent on the left wing or left midfield, I would maybe expect better numbers. But similar to what you said, Liam, all the clips that I've seen of him, which are very few, I could probably count on one.
Yeah, I can't say that I've seen loads and loads, but
he has looked okay, and I thought, similar to what Mark was saying, that potentially he could have joined us maybe a year earlier. But Ryan makes a great point about the fact that he probably could just end up being back up to left back, considering if Elliot does stay. If Elliot moves on, then potentially might get more game time. But then Junior Hoilett is obviously a left-sided as well. If rumours are to be believed, depending on who you listen to, Luke McCowan's a done deal as well. He can play on the left or the right as well. So we've been screaming out for more threat and more quality in the attacking areas and in the wider areas, and it seems like we are on the right path to doing that, and in the same breath bringing in an extra body for left back as well. So all in all, good business. I just want to stress, it doesn't, 3 or 4 signings for me doesn't negate the issues that we have at other aspects of the club and other areas of the club, and there's a lot of wrong things happening at the club at the minute that I just want to stress that myself and probably all of us on this call and a lot of the fan base are very frustrated with at the moment. So yes, this podcast at the moment is a little bit more upbeat than probably what it would have been if it was recorded yesterday or the day before, but I just don't want us to obviously get away from, there's people running the club and involved in the club that probably shouldn't be, and regardless of the fact that you've signed Nicky, Cadden, Junior Hoilett, Kieran Bowie, maybe Luke McCowan and others, that obviously doesn't get away from the fact of maybe more important matters as well.
Well, good to see that you're having a good day, Shaun, and you're nice and cheery. No, it's a good segue actually, because I'm going to just talk about Kieran Bowie and Luke McCowan quickly before we move on. They are obviously the other names that have been mentioned. Joe Hodge as well. His name has been kind of floated about on loan from Wolves. I still think we need another centre half in the building. If Sunday's anything to go by, I'm not too sure that you'd want to be leaning on Ekpiteta and O'Hara for the full season. The first league game and they shipped 3 goals, so it doesn't make for great reading. But I would like to see another body come in at centre half, because I don't think Riley Harbottle is that guy, unfortunately enough. But yeah, Kieran Bowie seems to me like again one of these Nicky, Cadden, Junior Hoilett signings. A good signing. I don't know. I hadn't even heard of him before we were linked with him, so I don't really know anything about him. But we need a forward, so get him in the door, and then obviously the money shot's going to be Luke McCowan if we can get that over the line. There's been a bit of talk here and there about a couple of bids, one failed, one accepted, so we'll just need to wait and see what happens there. But you think Luke McCowan's maybe going to be that that marquee signing that we've been looking for all window.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd be buzzing if we managed to get him. I'm sceptical on whether or not we will get him. Shaun seems to be pretty confident, and listen, I hope he's right, because it would be a brilliant signing, and there seems to be a lot of clubs now sniffing about him. I've heard that Celtic are interested, I've heard there's Championship interest, so if we manage to sort of get our business done before they come in with serious offers, then yeah, it would be brilliant, and I think it's one of them will likely add, well, I think Dundee will probably demand a pretty hefty sell-on fee, and he could potentially be an asset for us in the next few years. He's probably just about to start hitting his prime, if not in his prime now, so he could be an asset that we sell for a few £1 million, get a decent profit. Dundee might make some extra money as well, so it could be good all round. I just fear that, with marquee signings, I just fear for them. They'll recently, any decent player that we've signed, it feels a bit like Man United-esque, where decent players come here to die, and it's like I just hope that it's not the case and he can lift us, because I think Craig hit the nail on the head in the group chat. It's like you can see him being a disaster for Hibs, but if he signed for Hearts the way they are at the moment, he would be absolutely superb. So I just hope these signings really do elevate us, and it's not a case of us dragging them down. But we'll see. That's again really cynical, really negative of me, but it's just the way that I'm thinking.
No, but I think it's very fair for you to think like that, because of the track record that we've had of ruining players. But I mean, we're never going to get any better unless we sign better players, and that's kind of the long and short of it. So McKeown would definitely be an improvement on what we've got already, and Ryan, someone who is clearly a leader, the captain of Dundee, scored in the Dundee derby at the weekend. Something that we're maybe lacking a little bit, maybe
Yeah.
that kind of strong leadership.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you bring that up because when Mark was speaking there, it was one of the things I thought about. That obviously, when being Dundee captain, he shows those leadership qualities and the way that he performs. You know, he scores in a derby, he leads his team from the front. But he also probably shows leadership qualities off the park, which maybe we don't have many people doing at the minute, given that we've signed 7 players so far, I think it is. So it's obviously quite a new-ish kind of changing room. The more leaders and the more people that show those qualities in and around the building, the better. You can't have enough leaders, as cliched as it sounds, but also with regards to transfer policy, if we can go and take 1 or 2 players in the league that would improve us, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as we don't get bent over the barrel for it. They're proven in this league. McKeown's a prime example, hit good numbers last season. Still young, we could sell him on for a profit, and he could massively help us achieve our goals in the short to medium term.
110%. No, I completely agree. I think that we'll maybe be taxed a little bit more than what an English Championship club would be for going for him. But we all said last season when we saw him play that we'd like to see him at Easter Road, and if we can make that a possibility, and we can also bring Kieran Bowie in, whoever you listen to, apparently it's done. Apparently he's had his medical and all the rest of it, and it's a 4-year deal, and we're just waiting on Hibs to announce it. Knowing Hibs will probably announce it while we're recording here, and everything that we've said about potential will go out the window. But if those 2 come in, and it's just those 2 before the end of the window, can we then class the 9 players that we've brought in as, 1, a good window, but more importantly, 2, strengthening the squad of what we've got, Shaun?
I think so. I would just be wary classing things as a good window or not, because everybody, myself included, said that last summer was good and January was even better. I think what's been good this window is we've got quite a few bodies off the books. Yes, there's quite a few still there, but I fully expect in the next 3.5 weeks for another maybe 3 or 4 to depart, whether that be on loan or permanent. I think the good thing that we're doing at the moment with our signings, and the lads have alluded to it already, big characters, leaders, big game players, and they've played in big games as well, whether it be Nicky Cadden at Wembley, whether it be Luke McKeown in derbies. Well, derbies, getting derby goals was where I was going with that. Luke McKeown strikes me like the type of lad that wouldn't be overly arsed at this moment in time in his career about maybe making that move down south. Based on some of the clubs that have been linked to him, I feel like
how
he
old
would
is he,
be
Shaun?
maybe 26, I think.
So you mean, so probably if I'm him at 26, you're probably wanting to go down south, no?
I guess it would depend on the type of club that he feels that he could maybe go to, whereas some of the clubs that are linked with him at the moment are League One. And like I said, from what I've been informed of, it's done and dusted. The player wants to come, everything's agreed. It's just a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So he strikes me like the type of boy that would fancy the opportunity to come to a club like Hibs and strive under that pressure and do really well, and with the possibility of maybe getting to semi-finals, finals, and maybe even like a European spot, depending on what kind of dream that we have sold him. He seems like the kind of boy that would maybe buy into that, and then he is probably the type of player that could go one more. Hence the heavy sell-on fee. But Dundee don't have much of a wiggle room at the moment because he's only got a year left in his deal. I understand he's their captain and things like that, and he's an integral player to the way that they play. But
he's not going to be at Dundee forever. You know what I mean?
Dundee are not going to aren't in a position to hold clubs to ransom as well, because they're going to lose them for free. And it's not as if Dundee are going to go and finish 4th or 5th and get a European spot, because I feel like there's loads of other clubs in the league that have improved. So I think it will leave us in a better position, and I think more players will leave us as well. I do hope that Ellie Yuan is still a Hibs player at the end of the transfer window. I would be a bit skeptical about saying if our overall squad has improved as a whole if he was to leave, whereas if he was still to be on the books, I would definitely consider it a success.
I think it's dependent with Ewan, right? It's like
Yeah, absolutely.
if he wants to be at the club, absolutely. I hope he stays. But if he's kind of got the attitude where he's not that happy, he's not happy being on the bench, he doesn't want to have to work to get into the first team. If he's not got the best attitude, then get him to fuck.
I do think though, if we lose him, then we're going to kind of be up shit creek with a paddle because he's our best player. Like he really is, and I think if he ends up going, and the cynic in me as well was thinking we've made these 3 signings since last week when we've went weeks and weeks without even being linked with a player. Do you think that maybe means that Yuan's away and we're spending the money? I don't know.
But being linked and getting deals done and over the line are different things. So
Yeah,
I know.
I'm fairly certain
It's just
Ellie Yuan's
me
still injured
thinking
as
about
well.
it.
So if he's injured, then I'd be very, very, very surprised if he's to leave the club. I think he's on his way back. He posted a video on Instagram actually, but I was a bit sceptical about how recent that video was because it was the old training gear rather than the new one. But that's just me being a bit pernickety. Mark's hit the nail on the head about his attitude and stuff like that. But he also might not be in a position to have a choice at this moment in time. There might not be anybody interested in him. Do you know what I mean? His value might have went cold a wee bit because he's picked up a couple of knocks and it's been so long since he's had a run of games. So we'll see. I think off the top of our head we could end up with Vente, Kukharevich, Bowie as 3 strikers, and then you've got potentially McCowan, Hoilett, Cadden, Boyle, to name a few, as attacking threats as well. But Liam, like you said, we definitely need some form of strengthening of the defence as well because
1,000,000%. And I don't think that David Gray, Malky Mackay, and the recruitment team are under any illusions that 3 senior centre halves is anywhere near enough. And the quality that we've got in those 3 senior centre halves is
4
nowhere
of
near
them.
enough.
4 we've got, right?
I'm not counting really hard, but
Yeah, you'd be looking at me personally. I'd be looking to shift Tavares, Doyle Hayes, McCurdy, and Harbottle. So that would leave you with the 3 centre halves, which is it's not enough.
If we can get Rocky off the books, get him off the books.
I thought you liked Rocky, man.
Nah.
Nah, you only like the second one.
That took me a minute there. No, he's too. Nah, I've lost all my patience with him. He might have one good game when we win like 3-0, and then every other game he's just too much a liability.
Yeah,
So,
for me,
Harbottle's arguably even worse. So
there's no argument there, Mark.
Yeah.
I think Harbottle is just one of these ones. Obviously, came up the road with a little bit of potential, and it's just never worked out, which is a shame. So, wish the lad all the very best, but his future's not Hibs. That's a fact. And I think the sooner that we can get him off the books, probably better for us. And
let's save that clip for when he wins Player of the Year.
Yeah, probably so much better for him as well because he'll no be enjoying no being part of the squads week in week out and no kicking a ball apart for
You never know, eh? Look at what we said about Will Fish and look how he turned out.
Will Fish
he was
is all it
fantastic
takes.
in the end,
We'll move on to the St Mirren game and we'll kind of gloss over this quite quickly because it's the more negative part of the podcast before we get back to the positive bit. Again, but a 3-0. I don't want to really say demolition because I don't feel like it really was that much of a demolition. In scoreline, yes. In performance, maybe not. But 3-0 away to St Mirren, completely unacceptable, Ryan. Despite the fact that we had a half decent first half, we didn't really make many chances, but second half is just diabolical.
Different manager, same performance, same output, same result. We just seem to be rinse and repeat regardless of who's in charge at the minute. And I almost feel as though sometimes you could change all 11 players and still play, perform, and look the same way when you go to certain grounds in this league, which is disappointing. It's almost as if it's like an inner mentality thing that's built into us.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing. We just massively lack cutting edge. Like, I don't think that at the minute we would take 3 off a team at home, whereas St Mirren are doing it easily. They've done it in Europe.
We've done it plenty of times this season, Ryan.
Eh?
We've done it plenty of times. Took 4 off and beat ahead.
Against the quality opposition like St Mirren, I beg to differ. But I think that they're in a much more commanding position at the minute with the management team they've got in place, with their squad, and it showed on Sunday, that we're quite a bit off them at the minute. But that could change. But they look a steady outfit at the minute.
Mark, to use one of your favourite expressions, I feel like St Mirren played us to perfection on Sunday. They didn't let us have the ball for long periods of time. They were frustrating our attacking players. The way that they were pressing was making us wasteful and lazy in possession, and there were just kind of no real urgency. I feel like they played really well, and we just couldn't get around it.
Yeah, first of all, though, to echo Ryan, I do tip my hat to St Mirren because they're doing really, really well on and off the park. You see, I think they've got sort of record season ticket numbers. They're selling out regularly. They've cut Old Firm away allocation. Their attendances are on the up. Their performances are brilliant. They've got a solid squad and what seems to be a top manager.
They've done really well this summer with recruitment as well.
They seem to just be in a really, really strong position where they've got consistency in their coaching staff, and like I said, everything is just on the up. So they are a club on the up, and fair play to them. And I thought, see if you could sum up the entirety of our last season in 90 minutes, the St Mirren game would be it. Because we lost goals at key times, we were pretty wasteful in possession, we were a wee bit slow at times, we lost concentration at a really important time when we went to go 2-0 down. It was a mistake it comes from, and then I think maybe a matter of minutes later we go 3-0 down. The game's completely done in a matter of minutes. So for me, it sums up the whole of our last season. Nothing really up top. Midfield just too soft, too passive, and defensive frailties shown through it. I thought in the wide areas, Miller, the second half, was torn to shreds. Like every single time it came down that right-hand side, Miller was struggling. Thought Obita, when he got forward, his crosses were horrendous. Joe Newell, far too passive. Josh Campbell, nothing, no cutting edge whatsoever. Just all over the park, just really, really poor. Venti running about with no real purpose. Just nothing really to shout about, to be honest.
I will kind of jump to Venti's defence here. I don't think that the way that we're playing and the way that we played under Nick Montgomery, it doesn't suit Dylan Venti because I don't think he's the kind of player who, one, wants to do it all by himself up front, and two, can do it all by himself up front. I think that's maybe why we need to see a pairing with him and Miko, or him and Kieran Bowie if he comes in. So I will jump to Venti's defence, but no, I completely agree with what you're saying, especially about Obita. I thought his final ball was
Venti
woeful.
got like a open goal chance for 2 yards that he could have maybe took, and that maybe would have changed the course of the game.
The issue with Venti, we missed it. That's the other thing that sums up last season. We missed far too many. Martin Boyle,
Really
to be
good
fair,
opportunity
right,
second half at 1-0.
Nobody else in the team could have got into the position that he got into there, right? But he misses a one-on-one at the end of the day. I've never seen this Venti chance that people keep going on about.
No, it was in the first half. Well, I couldn't really see it that well because I was quite down the front. I was only like a couple of rows back, so it's difficult to tell what's really going on up that end of the park. And I've not watched the highlights back. I've seen the goals back, but I've not watched like the Hibs chances back apart from the Boyle chance. And I mean, I don't know. Was it a sitter shot?
Ball comes in, he's 2 yards out. All he needs to do is cushion it, like similar to how Mariah Welsh last week just kind of came onto it and just hit it with inside his foot and obviously scored. Venti's like 2-3 yards out. He just needs to do the same action, but instead of like hitting the sole of his foot or the side of his foot and going in, it hits his ankle or his heel and goes backwards. So it's fantastic defending for Venti, and like 99 times
that's the problem,
100, that goes in. So
does it just kind of sum up where he is maybe mentally though, and the fact that he clearly looks like a player that's lacking in confidence.
For sure.
I just don't think Venti's very good. I think he's one of them, right, that if he gets good chances in that, right, he'll probably get some goals. But I think everything else that a footballer is, I just don't think he's particularly good. He doesn't hold it up that well. He doesn't link in play. He's not particularly fast or anything like that. So if we're gonna have him as just a poacher, right, a fox in the box, fair enough. But he can't play up there as a sole striker.
No,
We
no way.
need
And I
somebody
think-
like Nicky who's got ability that can do things with the ball.
I mean, we've seen it under Johnson, under Gray as interim, under Montgomery, and now under Gray again. He just can't play as a sole striker, so don't play him as a sole striker. All it's going to do is knock his confidence. And I think when he came in at the start of last season and he was getting goals, he was playing as that kind of fox in the box, and because he's not doing that now, I feel like he's maybe been pulled out of what he's feeling naturally comfortable with, and then as a result, his performance is dropping. But all over the park, I mean, the blame doesn't lie solely with Dylan Venti. I feel like that there wasn't many, if any, Hibs players that got pass marks on Sunday. I think Rudy Molotnikov definitely was one of the better ones. Looked absolutely fucked when he came off. I thought he again had a really positive game. He looked like Shaun, someone who was determined to keep winning the ball back, and the amount of times that he won the ball and deep into the St Mirren half was quite impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And not a slight on him or where he's at the minute. I think he's obviously very raw, academy boy as well. So
And you got to remember that's his first start in the league. That's his first start.
Yeah.
So
I think these types of results will probably hurt players like him a wee bit more, because he'll know that either himself or the players around him can perform better, and he'll be frustrated with maybe how it's turned out. We as Hibs fans obviously want players on the park that give their all, and I'll die for the badge, so to say. And he will probably end up being one of those. Whereas obviously the likes of other players on that park that get called out for consistently performing negatively, I think Rudy will be one of those that over time, through more exposure and more game time, and he'll probably stand up and be one of those that are actually counted on days like at the weekend.
absolutely. And just before we kind of wrap up on the St Mirren game, Ryan, I wanted to talk about the second goal, the Ekpiteta mistake, and I've seen him taking quite a lot of stick online. But do you think that one, Ekpiteta is good enough? I've got my own opinions on whether Ekpiteta is good enough or not. I don't think he's had enough game time for you to really say, oh, he's shite, he's this, he's that. I think he's good enough for me, and I don't think a mistake like that is kind of going to define his career at Hibs. I think it's just been a blip in what has been, for me, a relatively successful Hibs career so far. But maybe that's something that's going to kind of give him the kick up the arse that he needs, and not every game is going to be the level of Queen's Park and Peterhead.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Ryan.
Oh, Ryan, you've chucked it, son. You were doing so
Oh,
well.
Ryan.
I'm
Just
doing
spell
alright,
it
man.
live, eh?
For 2 days added to your community service.
Fuck's sake. No, I think you made a couple
That's a
of
fiver
valid
in the
points
fine pot.
there. A fiver?
Aye.
You've already stolen a fiver off me this month. No, I think you make some valid points, but just to touch on something that Mark said earlier on there about Will Fish, he had a mistake, a very high-profile mistake in one of his first games at Hibs, and look what he went on to go and do for us. Again, it's not going to define him, but I think players sometimes come up here with the kind of wrong idea about the league, maybe the pace of the league and the physicality of the league, and they can get caught out at times. Even some of our better players have been caught out at times in the past, whether it be Ryan Porteous, Paul Hanlon.
Yep.
So this isn't something that's unique to him or individual to him. All players are going to make mistakes at some point. To jump on his back after such a small sample size, I don't think is fair on any player, especially somebody that's brand new in the door. But see, in terms of player profile, I think he's got everything he needs. I think he's got all the tools to become a good Hibs central defender. Somebody that's big, tall, imposing, good in the air, strong. can do a bit with the ball at his feet. It's just about being composed and concentrated for 90 minutes. Again,
Mhm.
Mark mentioned earlier on that was something we lacked at vital moments of the game. So hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call for him and a bit of realisation. Equally, to have two centre-halves playing together in the league for the
That
first
I've
time,
never
not
played together before.
yeah, other than in these cup games, it's not ideal. But I think there will probably be teething problems with that. We'll just need to ride out the storm.
Of course.
Honestly, it might sound daft, right? But I was honestly quite impressed with him. Like, I know it sounds stupid
Yeah,
because he made that mistake, right? But I think exactly what Ryan says. It's a brand new defensive partnership. It's a new back four to these two. They're still getting used to working with each other. They're still getting used to working with the goalie as well, and that's where it comes from. It comes from a pass back to the goalie. So mistakes happen, right? It is what it is. But he looks quite comfortable on the ball. He's strong. He's decent in the air. I thought he defended quite well. It's just a mistake he's made, and it's a bit of a lack of concentration. And like Ryan said, Will Fish made a similar mistake and he never made that mistake again. So I think he's, like, after one league game, it's outrageous if anyone's saying
oh
that
yeah.
Hibs standard or that, which
Well,
I'm
people wrote
imagining.
off Melida after the Rangers game at Easter Road, mind.
But I thought he looked good. I like the look of O'Hora as well. I think he's quite vocal. He looks a bit like a leader, and I just think it'll take time for them to get used to each other. But I didn't have any issues, particularly the first half. I thought we were never in any danger, and we shot ourselves in the foot ultimately. And I also think the other goals, I've not seen the third one to be fair, but they come down the wide areas. Do you know what I mean? So I just
Third
I
one
wouldn't take the
comes from kind of more or less out wide as well. So, but no, I completely agree with you, Mark. I really like O'Hora and Nick Potato. I actually said there was a point in the first half where he just kind of made like a routine interception, and he got like a massive applause from the crowd. And I turned to my dad and I went, what a difference it makes having a defender that can actually defend. He's something that any other defender maybe wouldn't get as big an applause for, but Big Marv did, and I like him. I think he's a good player. He's definitely an improvement on Rocky, as is O'Hora. So again, like Ryan says, like Mark, like how you say, it's going to be teething problems for maybe these first few games. I think especially against your Celtics and your Rangers, teams that are going to come at you and put you under serious pressure. Who obviously we've got.
Not playing either of them anytime soon, eh?
I know, but we'll move on to Celtic in just a wee minute. But before we do, want to talk about St Mirren's pies. I got in fairly early and I had a kebab pie, and I tell you what, it was absolutely gorgeous. Mark, you were telling me off air that you didn't manage to get a kebab pie. What did you get?
No, I had one at half time, and the only thing they had left was Scotch pies, the fucking crumbs, the scraping of the barrel. So, shall I just give my ratings?
You can give your ratings. Give me your ratings.
Right, I'll get the shite out of the way first, and then you can tell us all about your glorious kebab pie, which I've never, still to this day, never had a kebab pie.
Not ever, or just not at St Mirren?
I've never had one ever,
Wow.
and I don't think I ever will because they sound disgusting. Anyway, temperature, I've put 4. I'm a big advocate of a pie not being too hot, not being too cold, somewhere in the middle, so you can just fucking wolf it down.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. So temperature was just pretty much right, maybe a little bit too on the cold side. Filling, it's difficult because it's a Scotch pie and they're always fucking rammed, isn't they? So I've put 4. 4 because it was rammed, not 5 because it wasn't steak. 3, the crust was fine, it was alright. I put 3, just average. And then price, I think it was pretty much slap bang in the middle. What was it, like £2.80, or I can't even remember. But pretty much the same everywhere, so I've put a 2 for that one.
Oh wow.
So overall, that is
That's 8, 10, that's 13.
13. So respectable.
Well done. That's 13 out of 20, and we're dropping the uniqueness for this season. We're going back to the, as Mark called it off air, the Fab Four of ratings, which is temperature, filling, crust, and price point. So if you had a Scotch pie or a kebab pie, let us know what you thought of it. But I will bore you all now with my kebab pie chat. It was absolutely bloody sensational. I was quite surprised that there was as many left as there was when I got in, because it was at like 2:30, 2:45 or something by the time I got in at the stadium and actually got a pie, because the queue was fucking massive. But a temperature for me, it was roasty toasty, roasting hot, far too hot to wolf down. So the temperature for me, I'm giving it a 2, because kind of had to wait a wee while, and you know what, Ken, when you take that first bite and then all the steam comes out and it burns your mouth like fuck. Wasn't great. Filling, I've gone with 5. It was spectacular.
Wow.
It was absolutely spectacular. The kebab meat was nice, kebabish, and it had like this chili sauce. It was fruit. Oh my god! See, when I was eating the pie, I was like, my farts are going to be lethal on the way home, and they sure were. They sure were. It's a chili sauce intolerance that's done it for me. So the filling's getting a 5 from me. The crust was a difficult one, because instead of like the normal kind of like short crust pastry that you get that's like crunchy and that, it was like puff pastry, and it was a wee bit burnt. So I wasn't a massive fan of that. So it's getting a 3, and the price, it was £4. It was £4 for the pie, and although it was really really good, I think £4 is a bit too much, but it was very good. So that'll bump it up to a 2, and that gives me a score of 2. That gives me a score of 12. 12 out of 20. So your shite Scotch pie gets a better rating than my very good kebab pie, Mark. How does that make you feel?
I couldn't give a monkeys, to be honest.
And that is exactly what I was hoping that you would say. It really is. Right, we'll move on. We'll talk a wee bit about Celtic, and then we've got a couple of fun things to talk about before we wrap the pod up and go and get our dinner. Obviously, we've got Celtic now twice on the bounce, Shaun, before we go back to league action. We've got them in the league and in the League Cup, and then back to league action. Do you think that the results in these games don't matter as much as the performances do? Because maybe a half decent result, but a half decent performance, but a poor result might be able to be the catalyst to kick us on.
I think the situation we find ourselves in as a club, I think both are equally as important at this moment in time. Obviously, the benefit that we have is the first one is at home, and the games against Old Firm are not free hits. I don't see them as free hits, and I never will. Yeah. Especially considering some of the records that we've
not
had
for
against
a club
them,
of our
especially
size.
at home. Exactly. I think the benefit that we have is the first one is at home, and that one's in the league as well. So, yes, a performance would be great, but we got ourselves a little bit too excited when Nick Montgomery got a relatively good performance at home against Celtic, and we got ourselves a little bit too excited when Lee Johnson got a decent performance at home against Celtic. So, and look how both of their journeys turned out at Hibs. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself with any lively performance. For me, and I don't expect us to get a result at the weekend, I just want us to get a result. I don't care how we do it. I don't care if we stick 10 men behind the ball and put Kukharevich up top on his own, or if we go 3-4-3 and go full out attacking and just take the game to Celtic. Celtic looked very good at the weekend, unsurprisingly, and I expect them to obviously win the league again this year. I think it's been good, obviously, having a wee group stages in the League Cup, but for me that's over. I can't see us getting anything away at Celtic Park. So I think, as we should, take each game at a time. But yeah, for me, I want both at the weekend.
Yeah,
ideally.
I mean,
Prefer,
Ryan,
and
if
I
you
was
could,
to put one over the other, it would be the result, obviously.
Yeah, Ryan, if you could choose one game to get a result in, would you choose the cup or the league?
League Cup, because you've still got 30 odd games left in the league season to kind of make up those points. I know that probably sounds a wee bit weak mentality, but I think going all out for a cup this year is a must for David Gray. I think all of us would take winning a cup over maybe a top six finish or a European place, because we would not give back the Scottish Cup win for anything. So that's an example of what a cup win can do for us as a club. It can bring us together, and it's a day that we'll never forget. Whereas going away to, where did we play in Europe? Where was that game we played in Europe?
Aston Villa,
No. The first one where we got beat.
Andorra.
Yeah, so like I didn't even remember that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we all remember the Scottish Cup win. That's the difference between the two, for me.
Well,
Europe.
it's clear that I remember it.
Well, you didn't go either. So what are you on about? we were all in Birmingham though. Everybody was there, were they not?
I wasn't there, no.
I had COVID.
I wasn't there.
Oh, for goodness sakes. That's just the way I feel. I still think that a cup's a must for any manager at Hibs to get a lot of the fan base on side as quick as possible, get to Hampden as soon as you can.
I think if you go balls out and get a cup, then that is, I mean, when do we look fondly back on the times that we've finished third and got Europe?
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's always just about cups and stuff.
You also use a cup one as a catalyst to do well in the league, especially.
1,000,000%. And I feel like the cup win that we got in 2016 springboarded us on to, I think, bring quite a few half decent players that we maybe wouldn't have got otherwise. You know, as silly as it sounds, you know, all you did was win a cup, but you know, butterfly effect. You know, if that goal doesn't go in last minute, so I don't know, but for me, I'd love to get results in both of the games, Mark, but I feel like the league for me is maybe a little bit more important, considering we got no points on Sunday, and we know how quickly teams like St Mirren, Kilmarnock, Dundee, Hearts can run away from us in this division.
Yeah, I think the one that we're more likely to put a decent performance into is this Sunday at Easter Road. I think the good thing about it being Celtic at home is that it's easy to get yourself up for it. You didn't need to tell the players that it's a big game. If it was St Johnstone at home or something like that, I would almost fear that our head would still be down. Whereas it's almost like when it's Celtic, you've got to dust yourself off, and sometimes it even benefits us playing somebody like Celtic who are quite possession based, because we can almost dig in a little bit and we actually look a bit more solid defensively rather than against a team that just picks us apart. But look, likelihood is we'll get beaten both games. I agree with Ryan. If I had the choice, I would probably progress in the League Cup, because we'd still have a lot of games left to play, whereas for me, any team outside the Old Firm, the priority is winning a cup. I think it is, because not only does it come with European football, but it gives you those memories that last. And I think because there's so few and far between for anyone outside the Old Firm, that would be it for me. And if we knock Celtic out, we give ourselves a brilliant chance to not only get to Hampden but get to a final and potentially win it. But I think we're more likely to get a good performance at home. But yeah,
I mean, chances are we're probably going to get scudded in both of them, but we've got to keep our heads held high and the optimism flowing from the Hibs Ramble. But we'll move on to something a wee bit more fun before we finish up with listener questions. And one of our mates, friend of the show, Liam Riley, messaged me earlier on and said what would be a half decent segment would be ask ChatGPT if it could come up with any sort of chants for our players or the new players that we've brought in. So I did a little bit of tinkering with ChatGPT earlier on. I put out a tweet as well, but I don't think we got many responses. So just as well, I did the legwork myself, and I gave ChatGPT a bunch of players and a bunch of songs as the inspiration for the chants, and this is what it's come back with. So
this could be really concerning.
This is going to be fucking so cringeworthy.
It's
going to be dead cringeworthy. I did change a couple of the bits because there were some of it was really, really bad. Like, it was really bad. So the first one we've got is Harry McCurdy, and the tune is Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know, the popular nursery rhyme, and it goes a bit like this: Harry McCurdy, he's our man, he's our man, he's our man. Harry McCurdy, he's our man. He plays for Hibernian.
No.
And then the next one goes green and white. He leads the way, leads the way, leads the way. Green and white, he leads the way every match day. Now, I'm not too sure.
Hope somebody clips this. Hope
Yeah.
somebody clips this and just puts. Can't believe this guy's trying to come up with Hibs chants on the podcast.
I don't know how much ChatGPT's actually watched of Harry McCurdy whilst he's been at Hibs, but clearly not very much. The next one was for Warren O'Hora, and it's to the tune of Jumping All Over the World by Scooter. Right?
I like the sound of this one.
And this one I actually think is a little bit better. And it goes like, he comes from Dublin, now he's in Leith. He loves the high bees, he knows what it means. Warren O'Hora will follow the high bees all over the world.
That's all right.
That's quite good. But
I feel like
It started off alright, but I think the end maybe needs a wee bit of work. But
well, you take that up with ChatGPT, Shaun, because it's not got anything to do with
yes,
me.
another rendition, Liam.
Nope, I'm not doing it again. If you want to listen to it again, you can rewind.
because I can actually imagine Block 7 being like do.
Yeah. Siberia! Next one is, this was for Nicky Cadden, and it was to the tune of Rhythm of the Night. You know, this is the rhythm of the night. And it came up with... This is shite, man. I changed the last line on this because the last line was really, really bad, and you'll understand why when I sing it. And it goes, "Oh, Nicky Cadden's dynamite. Oh, yeah. And Chris is on the right." And then it goes, "They know their hearts are shite." But because the original line was, "They're not giving up the fight," or something like that, and it was really cringe and bad. And I was like, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that out in the pod. No way. And yeah, I mean the rest of them were pretty shit. Those ones were the best ones. That Scooter one, I think was quite funny.
Scooter one. That, do you know what? That is actually a potential. So I know it probably won't be, but that out of all of them, that is definitely the only one that could potentially be an actual song.
Yeah. And definitely not the Harry McCurdy, Mary Had a Little Lamb one. I don't think that's got much potential.
Or Rhythm of the Night.
Yeah, the Rhythm of the Night one is that's pretty
Because
shit.
you've got a few hit high notes on that one. Maybe mind Man United tried to do it with Alanga, and they were like, "Oh, try to do the high notes," and it sounded fucking awful.
It's like when Hibs fans sing the Fleetwood Mac one. It's like, oh, and they just go,
yeah.
but they just go, oh.
Aye, it sounds awful.
Right, okay, let's move on to our listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Okay, so first of all, as always, we've got John McIntosh, and he says, "What's for dinner? It better be good." Any volunteers?
Steak pie, mashed potatoes, vegetables, all classic.
Mashed potatoes.
Aye. Mashed potatoes is the way to go, man.
Mashed potatoes.
Potatoes and tatties, brother.
Both of them.
Yeah, man. Potato, innit?
You got a wee bit of gravy to drizzle over?
Of course.
Top man.
Nice
Any veg?
Yeah, mixed vegetables. Carrots, broccoli, peas.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Mark?
I had chicken, halloumi, and some vegetable rice. Wee bit of soy sauce through it there. It was nice. Pretty
Like
good.
a wee Nando's style.
Yeah. That was decent. It's good.
Nice. Shaun, what are you having? Or what have you had?
What you having with your
Had
chicken
a-
and broccoli?
I had a chorizo creamy pasta bake with garlic, tender stem broccoli, and it was sensational.
Just literally, I don't know why we keep asking you. Just play back any of Shaun's dinners previous, and that's what he's having. I'm having meatball pasta bake thing. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good for
Very
you,
much.
my man.
Surprised you're not having a hoagie or something.
Eh?
Surprised you're not having a hoagie or something.
Nah, I've had my quota of doner meat for this week.
It's only Tuesday.
Well, if the week starts on a Sunday, I've had my quota. Imagine that, eh?
No more chili sauce.
What'd you have for your dinner last night, Liam? Oh, it was Monday, so I got a fucking kebab. I feel
That's
like
my treat for the day.
that's my lunch. But, I feel like kebabs and that should be illegal to have like through the week, apart from a Friday. You could have a kebab on a Friday.
I was out on Saturday
On a
and done my usual drunken ordered food like at midnight or something and fell asleep. And I woke up on the Sunday morning on the couch next to a kebab covered pizza, and I was like, ugh. I just about whited. I opened the pizza box. It was this big, massive 16-inch pizza covered in kebab meat, and I was like, honest.
Had you not even take it? Had you not even eaten any of it?
No, it was full. It was completely full.
It's heavy as well when they do the kebab pizzas because they just fucking pile it on, man.
Oh, it was vile.
You need to scrape through like a pure Ben Nevis of kebab meat to get to any
I
pizza.
didn't even like doner meat. I didn't even particularly like doner meat. So I don't
It's
know
just
why
one
I
of these
ordered a
things when you're
fucking doner
drunk, eh?
pizza.
It's like,
But it just looked absolutely disgusting.
Shaun, do you like, as a non-drinker, do you like doner meat?
Absolutely love it.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't really eat it unless
I don't
I'm
know why
drunk.
the fact that I don't drink has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Well, no, it's
Does-
just because it's like a drinking food, isn't it? Like because
That
I wouldn't eat it unless I was drunk, apart from Sunday. But that was because it was purely a novelty to have a kebab pie.
Sean, you should try it
Best,
absolutely reeking because it tastes sensational.
Over. You would fucking orgasm over it.
I'll tell you what.
If you
the
like
kebab,
it sober, if you like it sober.
Lucas Podolski kebabs are hands down the
No,
greatest
that's
kebab
not.
I've
No,
ever
but
had.
that's not like that. That's not the
Dirty.
same as you get here, though. Eh?
It's not dirty.
Aye. It's just rubber and plastic you get here. That shit's
Aye.
like leather, man.
See, Mark, when we were in not Munich, Dusseldorf for Mastag, I think that was the kebab shop. There was a couple of those Lucas Podolski ones.
Aye,
don't know
that
if we
was
went-
good.
I don't know if we went into them, but they like instead of like a wrap, it was in like a fucking bit of bread.
Aye, but that's
No,
how
I'll
proper
never beat
kebabs
that. I don't
come.
think I'll get another kebab unless it's that it was that good.
Yeah, they were
The
shit.
German kebabs from the ones you get in Edinburgh are decent. Like
German doner.
American
kebab.
roll.
I've never tried that, but Craig swears by it. Craig says it's good, and Craig's a big laddie, so I trust him. You know what I mean?
McLeody.
Oh yes.
Oh, there's no denying that. There's no denying
Next
that.
up, we've got Keith Robertson bringing the mood down, saying, think we need a sports psychologist because we have a knack for former players coming back to bite us. Actually didn't speak about this in the St Mirren review. James Scott got booed onto the park, which I thought was disgusting. I loved James Scott, but then he went on to set up 2 goals, so he ended up having the last laugh.
It's just patter, wasn't it? It's just patter.
Seems like it always happens with us, though, that former players come back and bite us in the arse.
But that's just football, though. That's just natural that they try harder against their former employees.
And when you have such a high turnover of players like we do at Hibernian, of course, a few of them are going to come back to bite us in the arse, aren't they?
See,
It's just kind of the way that it'll go.
in terms of like booing ex-players onto the park, I've heard Scottish Cup winners being booed onto the park before.
We fucking booed John McGinn.
I booed John McGinn when he came with Villa.
He deserved it.
I would read nothing into it. Like,
It's just patter. It's just banter.
I remember when we had Jamie Murphy in mind, and then like, did he maybe leave in the January or something to go to St Johnstone, and it had
think
only
so.
been like a month or two since we'd let him go, and he got such a massive boo when he came on against for St Johnstone. You're thinking, fucking hell. 2 months ago, this guy was pulled on green and white and playing for Hibs and scoring goals in that, and now he's a hun bastard. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Well, what about the abuse? The abuse that I give Paul McGinn every time he plays at Easter Road.
Oh, I gave Paul McGinn abuse when he played for Hibs at Easter Road, man. I fucking hate him.
Whenever he's on that right hand side and he's like kind of close to where I'm sitting, he gets it absolutely stinking, like, because I fucking hated him when he played for us, and I hate him now.
I really didn't like Paul McGinn. Didn't get me started, man. I could sit here all night and talk about how much I didn't like Paul McGinn when he played for Hibs.
He's like fucking Jamie Murray, isn't he? Just the shite brother.
What does that make Stephen McGinn then?
He's like, I don't know, the other Murray brother. He's Judy Murray.
Scored a good goal against Motherwell, though. I remember.
Nice.
Next up, Gav Dick says, looked like we tried to play the same as St Mirren, but obviously it didn't work at all. We overplayed it when we did get into the box. Oh, fucking hell, Gav, you're giving me a headache here, son. Is there his question is there anything positive going into the Celtic game? From that game, I don't think so. Well, from that game, I don't think so. But since then, now that we've got a couple of players in, and there's maybe potential for a player or two to come in before the Celtic game, I think there is a little bit positive.
The positive I would take for that game is the fact that it happened, so David Gray can learn and improve from that performance. And
don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Again.
I like the look of the goalie.
I like the look of the goalie as well. What I didn't like about him though was how long it took him to distribute the ball. It wound me right up, man.
Yeah, he looked quite commanding though. He was in charge of his box. He came out quite early. He conceded 3 goals, but I don't think any of them were.
But see, the first goal's an absolute zinger. The second goal, I don't think he's got much of a chance with because of the way that Ekpateta's given the ball back in, but it's 6s and 7s, and then the third goal maybe you could have done a wee bit better. But goalies concede goals like that every week, so.
Oh, you shout then, fuck him.
Exactly. Send them back to Bruges.
There's no positives in that case.
John told me, he asks, what's your favourite sport that isn't football? I've gotten into a few sports over the past couple of years, and UFC and darts are the ones that have stuck. Ryan?
Gaelic football by a country mile.
Shaun?
I don't really watch other sports, to be fair, other than like when the majors are on for golf or tennis. Love the fucking Olympics though. Olympics are class.
The Olympics is good. Mark?
Yeah, right. There was a question on the radio. What's a bigger event, the Olympics or the World Cup?
The World Cup.
For me, it's the World Cup. We're big sports. But the Olympics brings so many different sports together in one tournament.
Yeah, but how many Olympians can you name?
Fucking Usain Bolt, Tom Daley. I'll keep going.
I was going to say Usain Bolt's not playing this year.
Nah, no, I agree with you. I just thought it was interesting because it's the only time it happens is there's so many different categories. It's class, man. When else would you watch archery on a Tuesday morning?
I do love the Olympics. I really do.
Alright, it's alright. It's something to watch, but it's alright.
Synchronised diving is where's that like?
I watched someone break the 1500 metre swimming freestyle world record the other day, and I was like, that is fucking quality.
Act like they know what they're talking about. Like the one.
I was like, Ken what? He swam a great race there.
Mark, it's funny you say that.
He strokes a bit off there.
Thing. I watched like 3 dives and I was like, oh, that's a brilliant dive. That's fantastic. And then you see the scores come up and you're like, oh, maybe not.
The thing is, you're sitting there feet up with a packet of fucking chili heatwave Doritos and all the dust on your fingers and that, and you're like, fuck, he was shite there. He was fucking shite.
Oh, the
fucking
dust.
disgrace.
Fucking hell.
Mark, for you, what's your favourite sport other than football?
To watch, definitely basketball. It's probably the only other sport that I watch regularly. I managed to get to a game when I was in America because I support the Dallas Mavericks, who got to the finals this year.
Well done,
so
guys.
That's definitely. I like watching golf, and I've just recently taken up playing golf as well. So, in terms of playing sports, my 2 sports are golf and badminton. And I can confirm, right? Today, I have officially become a bike wanker. I have purchased a cycle bike, so I am now a cyclist as well. If that counts as a sport.
Brilliant. Are you going to get one of the head cameras and look at people's cars on their phones?
I'm 100%. You will never, ever, ever, ever see me on the roads. I just would never do that, but I'll just be on the wee cycling trails and all that.
So you're like doing mountain biking and stuff like that?
No, it'll be
Dane
cycle
Wheely's
paths.
Dane Wheely's on the Forestry Commission path.
Cycling down to the
No,
shop
it'll
for a
just
couple
be
of cans and then cycling back.
It'll be cycle paths that are off the road, away from the road, in a
When nobody
forest
can see
somewhere
you.
where nobody
Yeah.
can see me.
With your helmet on. Safety
Aye.
first, man. Science second.
Well, I'm going to wear a helmet, mate. I'm no fucking old daft.
Aye, exactly. Wear a helmet
Big
if you're
enough one as
cycling,
it is.
ramblers, because it's important. For me, John, my favourite sports other than football, similarly to Mark, I quite like golf. I go to the driving range every now and then. I'm absolutely fucking murder at it, mine. So, I don't particularly like it when I'm doing it, but I like the thought of going and playing golf, and then to watch. I like watching the boxing and the UFC stuff like that, like combat sports. Just like to watch folk get the shit beaten out of them, which is always half decent. Next up, Kevin Wilson, and this might be a question completely directed at you, Mark. And he asks, "What's the best takeaway for leftovers?" No kebab pizza, anyway.
You have to say pizza the way, like in general, like if it's just a normal pizza, because it actually sometimes is better reheated
Aye.
because it's like greasy and that. So probably, I mean, Chinese and that isn't
Chinese.
great.
No, I don't mind the Chinese the next day.
Nah, it just goes all salt. Like like curry and all that's alright, but see if you've got any sides, they just go all greasy and soggy.
Well, you just chuck them in the air fryer, but
Nah,
just back up again.
I'm not a huge fan. I'd probably say pizza for me is the only decent one.
Nah, I mean pizza definitely. I would also say Chinese, but we're not going to find out Ryan's because he's dropped off the call. But Shaun, what do you think is the best takeaway for leftovers?
I don't think I've ever left any leftovers for a takeaway because I generally finish my food.
See that surprises me. It does, Shaun.
What, that I finish my food or that I'd leave leftovers?
No, that you don't leave leftovers. Like I leave leftovers all the time
Nah,
because
no way.
my eyes are bigger than my belly, and I'll always get like an 18 or fucking 25-inch pizza, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat all this. I'm going to absolutely.
That's the
like,
only reason.
like then when you say to the message, like, I'm going to fucking give you a right doing. I'm like this to the pizza. Oh, I'm going to eat you. I'm going to eat all of you, and you get like 4 slices, and you're like, ugh.
That's the reason why I sometimes, if I have left food, is because I'm just ridiculous at ordering just a ridiculous amount of food.
I'm always
So-
like, yeah, I'll eat a pizza, and then I'll eat 10 chicken wings, and I might as well just get a box of mozzarella sticks as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
That's-
You probably don't
You
think
know-
like that, Shaun, because you're a rational human being.
Oh no, don't get me wrong, like my eyes are definitely bigger than my stomach, but regardless of whether I can eat it all, I make sure it's finished. I'm not letting any food go to waste.
Well, good. That's good for you, man.
We wouldn't let it go to waste. We would indeed reheat it. Hence the leftover conversation.
Nah, I don't. No, I'm not a fan of reheating food. And I think that's probably what plays a part in it, to be honest. Because I'm like, oh fuck, leaving that. It's going to be minging in the morning or the following day. I'm not reheating that. It'll be soggy and minging. I'll
Have you ever had a
force
kebab
my
the
way
next
through and
day?
finish it now.
Have you ever had any like kebab the next day? It's bad.
No, couldn't bring myself to do it.
I've tried it. I tried it once and it was, nah, not for me. No, I wouldn't do it again. I'll tell you that. We've got quite a lot of things about Ben Kensel. Will he go? And then just kind of depressing stuff about the St Mirren game. Billy is asking, any film recommendations? Can't be fucked asking a question about Hibs.
Well, let's talk about Ben Kensel then, if that's what people are asking, instead of talking about films and food. This is a Hibs podcast after all.
Yeah, Ken what, Mark? You are absolutely right. Kian, the Rebel Hibby, says, if Ben Kensel left tomorrow, does the club improve? What else needs to change? Personally, I think he's nothing more than a yes man for bigger problems, and I can only really call as a lack of ambition or standards. Root and branch. We know that you've got an opinion on this, John.
We'd definitely save money on sunbeds and fake tan, so we'd definitely be in a better position if Ben Kensel left, for sure. My issue with him, albeit he can get us a good deal when we're selling players, and he's managed to do that successfully in the past, and he's done a lot of positive things for the club off the park. I just don't get how someone can consistently fail their main objective as a CEO in regards to successfully running a positive football club and making positive change on the park. I know he doesn't have a direct impact, but the decisions he makes, i.e. hiring and firing people, plays a huge part in what we do as a club. I don't understand how he can consistently get it so wrong, full stop, but not only he gets it so wrong so often and he's still in a job of such great importance. That's in any other walk of life, if you are consistently underperforming but performing in other areas of your role, you get let go, or you get put on a performance plan, or you get moved on, or you get replaced. It happens in every walk of life, and that's my frustration. Yes, he's done a lot of good for the club, like I said, off the park and financially for the club, but we've also chucked so much money down the drain, and that's came either directly from Ian Gordon, or it's came from Ben Kensel's decision making in regards to hiring mates or hiring people that he thinks are good. I think the issue that we have at our club, pretty much since the Gordons have taken over, unfortunately, is that they get swindled into people that interview well. And they buy into talk rather than results and actions. I don't actually think Ben Kensel was relatively successful in his previous role. He was to an extent, obviously, but not as a CEO. And yet he finds himself in such a high-worthy position. But Cian's right, he's not the only person that is an issue at the club, and there are many other positions at the club that I do think need to be reviewed. We got told at the end of last season about a internal review. That is either one not happened. Yeah, that's either one not happened, or two, they've done something about it, and either the Black Knight group have washed their hands with it, or the club have just swept it under the carpet. Don't come out and say you're doing an internal review and then not tell us what the outcome of that is. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So, and I could go on and on and on, and
I know you could. And Mark, do you think it's...
Mark was the one that wanted to talk about it rather than talking about movies. I would have happily spoke about movies instead of Ben Kensel.
No, but
Mark,
do you think that the whole sort of trust the process comments that Ben's been putting on LinkedIn and stuff about the signings and stuff and whatever's happening on the pitch and off the pitch, do you think that only just adds to the frustration from the fan base because we're being asked to trust a process that a lot of supporters don't actually see any improvement in?
Yeah, and I mean, trust the process loses meaning when there's been 3 or 4 processes to trust, right? Like 3 or 4 different processes. I think I completely agree with what Shaun said in terms of accountability has to go somewhere, and if you're the CEO, then the buck stops with you. And I get that on his CV and when he's interviewing for future jobs, there's loads of successes that you can talk about in terms of the business elements and the sponsorships and the Black Knight investment and some of the sell-ins and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think things have improved off the pitch under the Gordons and under Kensel, but ultimately at a football club, you're judged for what happens on the pitch, and that's what's not been good enough. And I think that's what disappoints me, is there's not been accountability there. He's not really taken responsibility. The Gordons haven't come out and said, look, you need to improve, unless it's happened behind closed doors. My theory is, and look, I want to be as respectful as possible. When Ron Gordon passed away, I think that Ian Gordon was probably under enormous pressure to keep things going, to keep his dad's legacy going, and I think he probably looked to Ben Kensel for support. And I think that because of that support that Ben Kensel provided during that period, Ian probably sees him as like a really major importance to him in the football club. And I think he's maybe got extra rope because of that. Now, I could be completely way off there, but I definitely think that the relationship between those two seemed to get a lot closer during that period and since. And I think obviously Ian was under a lot of pressure with, when he was the head of recruitment and all this kind of stuff. And I just think that Ben Kensel has probably helped him massively through that and running the football club and the day-to-day stuff, which obviously Ron would have done a lot of that previously. So I think Ian probably sees him as a bit indispensable. So if that's the right word, I think it is.
Aye.
So that's my theory as to why there hasn't been as much accountability for him. But yeah, the buck has to stop with somebody, and we can't just keep going through managers, director of footballs, whatever it might be, all these made up roles that we're putting people into without eventually turning around and saying, is there something further up that needs to change?
I think you're absolutely spot on though, Mark. And I think it's obviously it's a sensitive subject with Ron and stuff, but Ron was a very infectious character. Everyone spoke really well in his love for the club, and you could see that when he spoke. Don't think I've ever heard Ian Gordon speak 2 words, and I'm not expecting someone like that to come out and talk to people and play a massive part, but it just, to me, seems like there's lots of people dipping their hands into the club that don't understand what the club means and understand what it is to represent this club, whereas you got an understanding when Ron Gordon was involved that he knew what it meant to be involved in the club. And whether that be Ian or Ben or anyone else that's involved in the club, it just feels like at the moment that we're getting whitewashed in regards to the soul and the respect that our club has as a whole. And that's, I guess, where a lot of my frustration comes from as well.
Can I just chime in there, Shaun? And I have absolutely no doubt that Ben and Ian and the whole leadership team have got the club's best interests at heart and the supporters' best interests at heart. I have absolutely no doubt that that's the case. Whether
I definitely disagree with, but I'll let
I don't know. But thing is that they're not going to Hibs in any football club in the world would be nothing without the support, and that is the financial support of the supporters and the moral support and the actual physical support of the fans being there. So I'm under no illusion that they want what's best for the football club, for themselves, for the coaching staff, the playing staff, and for the supporters. And I'm under, that's my opinion. I don't think that they've not got everyone's best interests at heart. Whether they're doing the best job, that, people have got their opinions on that as well. I don't think that maybe they're doing the best job, but then again, what changes if they leave and there's other people come in? I don't know. I feel like playing. I'm like, play devil's advocate here, but it's difficult to do that when you just don't know really, do you?
But with all due respect to Ian and the Gordon family, it was Ron Gordon that was the businessman, right? He was the brains behind the operation. It was his passion for Hibs that made him buy the club, and his family followed suit.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason that the Gordon family are still involved with the club is to carry on Ron's legacy, which obviously indirectly is in our best interest. But are they doing it to continue Ron's legacy, or are they doing it because they're really driven and passionate about the club and the supporters? Now, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know, and from what they've said and from the sort of interviews and stuff I've heard of them, they are passionate. And I remember Ian crying after the Lucerne game in the pub after it because he was so happy. So don't get me wrong, I'm sure they are passionate. I just worry that, is it a case they're doing it to continue their dad's legacy, or are they doing it in the best interest? And does it make a difference?
This is maybe where I'm at, to be honest, Mark, and that's the fact that I think they do, Kit and Ian, I think they certainly do have the passion and they want to be here. Whether they're the right people for the football club to progress, and whether they are, and I'm not trying to, question their intelligence or their business expertise, because I certainly couldn't do it, but whether they are the right people to take the club forward, whether they have the right knowledge and the right people around them to give them the advice to then take the club forward, we don't really know. And some people would say no, some people would say probably yeah, and that's just the way that the world is, and folk will have different opinions on the rest of it. But we'll maybe kind of wrap it there for the Ian Gordon and Ben Kensel chat, and we will wrap it up with Billy's question: have we got any film recommendations before we jump away?
No. I watched. I'm trying to find it. I watched the film Green Book on Netflix a couple months ago.
Oh, I've heard that's good. Is it good?
And it was very, very good. I was very happy with it. What was that?
Is it a tearjerker?
No. Well, it might have been, but not for me because I'm not that type of person.
didn't
So I
try
would
it,
say
yeah.
no. No, not at all. So yeah, so that would be my recommendation. But on the flip side, recently I went and saw Inside Out 2, and that was also really good. So
really?
completely different genres, completely different types of movies, but just as good.
I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine last week, and it was really good.
I've not seen that yet.
It was very good. It was really, really good. But other than that, Ken, what I watched again recently that I loved was The Equalizer. Ken, the one with Denzel Washington. He's
Yep.
just like a wee guy who goes about fucking kicking folks' heads in and that.
I watched
like
Gladiator recently as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
I need to watch that because there's a new one coming out.
Aye. I'll give
Not a
Billy
huge
two films not to watch as well, though. I watched Under Paris recently, and I watched Beast.
Was that
which has
the-
got Idris
was that the
Elba on it.
Netflix
Both
one?
of them were
The
recently added
Netflix
to
original?
Netflix, and both of them were added to Netflix, and they're both absolutely atrocious. And I would definitely
That Beast one is like it's like
watch
Jaws
them.
but a lion, eh? Is it? Is that right?
I guess so. Aye.
Like they're getting hunted by a lion. And that Under Paris one, everyone was that not a shark one as well?
Shark Eye.
My movie recommendation would be Threads, 1984. There you go.
I've not seen it. I've never actually even heard of it.
It's a BBC movie, I think, actually, from 1984 called Threads. It's a great watch. Terrifying, but it's good.
What's it about?
It's about nuclear war. So the Russians drop a nuke on Britain, and it's about like the immediate aftermath and then what happens in like 10, 20, 30 years. But it's just grim.
Is it on
Absolutely
iPlayer?
grim. I don't know.
Find it
It'll
on
be somewhere though.
Be on the stick. Not that I've got a stick. Or anything like that.
But I'm sure it will be on there for people.
Just in case anyone's
People that are partaking in that, illegal activity. I'm sure it is on there.
disgusting. That'll do us, boys. I think we've gone a wee bit over tonight, but it's been a really good chat. I've really enjoyed the conversation that we've had, and thank you so much for giving up so much of your time tonight to join me in the conversation, and yourselves, obviously the listeners, for getting this far. If you've got this far, we really appreciate it. Oh, also before we go, the first batch of Leith 7 orders has been completed by the production factory and will be on its way to us very, very shortly. So keep your eyes on your emails and we'll keep you updated on the Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So just keep an eye out if you've got a Leith 7 order in, and we will keep you updated with when we know what's happening when it arrives and stuff. So all good. Again, thanks again for listening. Mark, Shaun, thanks again for joining me, and we will catch you next week after the Celtic game. Bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.